In this video, you will learn how to apply algebra in order to solve word problems. Now, to solve word problems, every word problem is going to be a little bit different. So there's not one set way to solve every word problem. But what we're going to do is walk you through a couple examples in which hopefully you will learn some processes that could help you for other types of problems as well. So for problem 1, you're told that Tyler has 140 coins. He has 2 more dimes than he does quarters. How many of each coin does he have? So he has quarters and dimes. And notice he has 2 more dimes than quarters. So everything is based off quarters, right? So if quarters and dimes both are unknown, we're trying to figure those out. Quarters can be x, and then dimes is based off that, and dimes could be x plus 2, because there are 2 more dimes than quarters. So these are our variable expressions, and from here we can create our equation. So we know that the total of coins is 140. So if I take the x plus 2, that would equal 140. So this is my equation, and from here I can solve. X plus x is 2x, so I have 2x plus 2 equals 140. When you solve an equation, you work in reverse order of operations. So we see addition and we see multiplication. Begin with the addition first and take care of that by subtracting. So we now have 2x equals 138, and then I can divide both sides by 2. So now x equals 138 over 2, which would be 69. So x is 69, which is the number of quarters. And then the number of dimes is 69 plus 2, which would be 71. So Tyler has 69 quarters and 71 dimes. Problem 2, Jimmy has 205 coins. He has 3 less dimes than twice the number of quarters. He has 4 times as many pennies as dimes. How many of each coin does he have? So our unknown is how many of each coin does he have? So what coins does he have? Well, he has dimes, he has pennies, and he also has quarters. And so what we want to do is figure out what is everything based off of. So it says he has 3 less dimes than twice the number of quarters. Then he has 4 times as many pennies as he does dimes. So everything is based off of quarters. If quarters is x, then the number of dimes is 3 less than twice that number. So 3 less dimes than twice the number of quarters means we take twice the number of quarters, so 2 times x, and then take 3 less than that, so minus 3. So the dimes would be 2x minus 3. And then it says he has 4 times as many pennies as dimes. So if I take the number of dimes, 2x minus 3, and multiply by 4, that is the number of pennies that I have. So here we see all of that information typed up on the side. And from here, now that we have everything established with variables, we can now create our equation. We know that Jimmy has a total of 205 coins, meaning if I add up all of these amounts, the x plus 2x minus 3 plus the 4 times 2x minus 3, that total would be 205. So what I can do is I can solve this. So to solve, I can begin by getting rid of the parentheses. So here, if I'm adding 2x minus 3, that is the same thing as taking just 2x and minus 3. And then over here we have a 4 we can distribute within the parentheses. So 4 times 2x is 8x, and 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. So now all the parentheses are gone. From here I can combine like terms. We have x plus 2x plus 8x. Those can combine. So 1x plus 2 plus 8, that gives me 11 x's. Negative 3 minus 12 is negative 15, and equals the 205 over there. Now to solve, I can work in reverse order of operations. So I see subtraction, and I see 11 being multiplied. So to solve, I work in reverse, which means I take care of the minus 15 first, and I take care of that by adding 15. We now have 11x equals, that's going to be 220. Take care of the 11 by dividing. We now have x equals 220 divided by 11, which is going to be 20. So x is 20, which is the number of quarters. The number of dimes is 2 times 20 minus 3. 2 times 20 is 40. 40 minus 3 would be 37. So there's 37 dimes, and then 4 times that amount of pennies. So 4 times 37, that would give me, what, 28 to carry the 2, 148. So I have 20 quarters, 37 dimes, and then 148 pennies. And that should work out, or if I add those together, I should get 205 coins total. And if I add those, I get 15, carry the 1, 3, 6, 10, carry the 1. That gives me 205, which confirms that my answer is correct. Here we have example 3. Example 3 says that Erica has 5 more pennies than quarters. The total of the coins is $12.01. How many of each coin does Erica have? Now this problem is more involved than problem 1 and 2 because here we are dealing with the total value of the coins, whereas problems 1 and 2 we're dealing with the total number of coins. So this has a whole new dimension to this problem. Now for a problem like this, I'd recommend creating yourself a table, where in the table you would put pennies and quarters for your row headings, and then for the column headings we have the number of coins, and then the value of each coin, and then your total value right here. Alright, so the value of each coin, here we know pennies would be 1 cent, and then quarters would be 25 cents. So we have 1 and 25. And then the number of coins, if we take number of coins times the value, that gives me the total value. So for example, if we had 10 pennies, we have 10 as our number, and then 10 times 1 would give me 10 cents total. Same thing for quarters. If we had 4 quarters, each one is 25 cents. We take 4 times 25, which is 100 cents or $1. Alright, so number of coins times the value of each coin totals this total value over here. Alright, so the question now is, what goes in for the number of coins? Well, it says Erica has 5 more pennies than quarters. So if we let x be the number of quarters, then pennies would be 5 more than that, which is x plus 5. So we have x here, then x plus 5 for the number of pennies. And then what I can do is I can multiply the number of coins by the value to get the total value. So for the first row, for pennies, we have x plus 5 times 1, which would give me x plus 5. For the quarters, we have x times 25, which would be 25 times x. So we have filled in the table, and we have in this last column our total value. This is the column that I'm concerned about, because in the problem we are told the total of the coins is $12.01. So what that means is if I add the value of the pennies with the value of the quarters, that total is going to be $12.01. So that's my equation. We have x plus 5 plus 25x equals $12.01. So this is my equation, and make sure that this dollars, so $12.01, we convert into cents, because that is what we have in the table, right? Because a penny is 1 cent, a quarter is 25 cents, so everything is in cents. So $12.01 would be 1,201 cents. So from here, we can now solve this equation. We can combine the x and 25x to get 26x. And then to solve, we work in reverse order of operations. So we see addition, and we see 26 times x, which is multiplication. So working in reverse, I take care of the addition first, and I do that by subtracting. So I subtract 5, I now have 26x equals 1196. And then I can divide both sides by 26, and we have x equals 1196 over 26, which would equal 46. So x is 46, which is the number of quarters. So I have 46 quarters. And then pennies, I have 46 plus 5, which is 51. So I have 51 pennies. So that is my solution, 51 pennies and 46 quarters. Now problem 4 is very, very similar to problem 3, but for this one we add one more level of difficulty. Problem 4 says Ashley has 45 coins that are made up of quarters and dimes. The total is $8.40. How many of each coin does Ashley have? Now again, for this kind of problem, since we're dealing with a total value, I would recommend creating yourself a table. So your table is going to have dimes and quarters as your row headings, and then for the column headings, we have number of coins times the value of each coin equals the total value. So the question is, how do we fill in this table? So for the number of coins, this is where this problem is probably the most tricky, is because we need a different approach to figure out what goes in here. So we don't know either dimes or quarters. So if we let dimes be x, we don't know how many dimes we have. We can figure out quarters based off this and based off the fact there are 45 coins total. So if, for example, we had 5 dimes, then the quarters we find by taking 45 coins minus the 5. We know there's 40 quarters. If there was 10 dimes, then we do 45 minus 10 to get 35 quarters. So whatever x is, whatever this number of dimes is, we subtract that from 45 to figure out the number of quarters. So the number of quarters is 45 minus x. So from here, the dimes each are 10 cents, the quarters are 25 cents. So we put a 10, 25 in that column. And then your total value, we multiply the number of coins by the value of each coin. So for dimes, we take 10 times x to get 10x. For quarters, we do 45 minus x times 25, which is the same thing as 25 times 45 minus x. So this table is a little more difficult because of this first column right here. And then because of this first column, we now have this expression for the quarters. And when I solve this in a minute, it's going to be more difficult because I need to distribute first. But to get my equation, I take this total value column right here, and I know that if I add these totals together, the value of the dimes plus the value of the quarters, the total value is going to be $8.40. So my equation is 10x plus 25 times 45 minus x. That's equal to $8.40, which is 840 cents. So this here is my equation. Now I can solve this by simplifying this left side. We can distribute 25, get 25 times 45, and 25 times negative x. That gives me 1,125, and minus 25x. I can continue to simplify this left side by combining like terms. 10x minus 25x would be negative 15x. So I now have negative 15x plus 1125 equals 840. So to solve, I can work in reverse order of operations. We see addition of the 1,125, and we see negative 15, which is being multiplied by x. So I take care of the addition first, and I take care of that by doing the opposite, which is subtract. When I subtract, I now have negative 15x equals 840 minus 1125, which would be negative 285. And then I can get rid of this negative 15 by doing the opposite of multiplying, which is dividing. So divide both sides by negative 15. That gives me a positive x on the left, and then a positive 19 on the right. So x would equal 19. Now going back to the initial problem, x is number of dimes, so there are 19 dimes. And then quarters is 45 minus 19, which is 26. So we have 19 dimes, and we have 26 quarters.